Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. Different people often hold different sets of values, and that can be true even for members of the same family. Although parents typically picture their children embracing their values when they grow up, for various reasons that doesn't always happen. Liberal parents end up with conservative children, and Christian parents find agnostic or even atheist offspring sitting across the dinner table. Today, I'm going to suggest that values differences in themselves are not the cause of the trouble that many families experience. Rather, it's how those differences are handled that can lead to escalating conflict, decreasing goodwill, and unfortunately, relationship breakdown. Some parents may find it hard to let go of trying to instill their values in their adult children, but I've spoken to many who are trying their best to downplay their differences. However, in some cases, their adult children are so passionate and express their feelings so strongly that the parents don't know what to do. And so they shut down, making their children even more frantic to get their points across. And the situation deteriorates. If this is happening in your family, you might find some helpful ideas in the Validation episode series, starting with episode 198 at reconnectionclub.com/198. When I hear about different values causing conflict in families, I think back to my own experience as a member of a large social club that met in person once a week. We had members from all walks of life. They were of all ages from their 20s to over 70. Some of us had been born and raised in the U.S., and some came from other cultures. Most notably, we were not unified politically, and we represented a range of religions. There's no question that, as individuals, we did not share the same set of values. And yet, the social and emotional atmosphere of the club was amazingly harmonious. The club was a chapter of Toastmasters International, which you may have heard of. It's an organization promoting communication and leadership. I'll link to it in the show notes if you're interested. Our weekly meetings revolved around speeches given by club members, with speakers being evaluated on various aspects of their presentations. Most tried to stay away from giving speeches that would instantly activate controversy, but the world is full of different opinions and beliefs, so it was impossible to avoid topics altogether that might trigger disagreement. From the very beginning, I was impressed by the way the club members handled their differences. There was some good-natured ribbing between the Republicans and Democrats in the room, but it was like jokes among friends. The affection between members was obvious, and it was clear that civility and mutual respect were values that all of us shared. Our different values did not drive us apart. Instead, we had fun together. We worked together to create the social and educational environment we wanted, and we helped each other develop our communication and leadership skills. Our different values coexisted with and took a back seat to the values that we shared. I don't want to be a Pollyanna. Different values can and do separate people. But I've learned firsthand that they don't have to dominate relationships, let alone poison them. It's probably no coincidence that this wonderful group that managed their differences so well was a Toastmasters club. They're all about communication, leadership, and personal growth, which provides shared values to an otherwise diverse group of people. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, well, those are strangers. They have to be polite. It's not like that with family. I hear you, and I agree. With family, we want to be able to let our hair down, to be ourselves, not to walk on eggshells, choosing our words carefully all the time. But in the presence of different values that are already causing trouble within the family, which is nobody's fault, by the way, it just happens, the stakes are higher, not lower, than they were in my club, because family is so precious. Which means that handling those differences with care may require conscious effort. I'd like to list some specific behaviors I witnessed in my club that seemed to help us get along and even make friends across the divide of values and beliefs. And as I list these points, I'll tie them to action steps. Stick around to the end because there's an extra tip on the other side of this list that might be the most important takeaway from this episode. The first thing was we didn't go looking for a fight. We had a sense of who held which values, and it was pointless to argue about certain things. If there's someone in your family who likes to argue, talk to the people you have access to, especially your spouse or partner. Let them know that although there may be conflict, arguing is always optional. Rather than disengaging completely, though, when someone seems emotionally invested in arguing, you always have the option of validating their emotions. You don't have to agree about facts, remember, in order to do that. Number 2, we had a habit of speaking to each other respectfully. I never witnessed anything as egregious as name-calling, and if someone's feedback sounded a little too harsh, they were gently reminded to tone it down. If someone in your family doesn't seem to know how to speak respectfully, you can model the behavior by being unfailingly respectful when you speak to them. No one learns respect for others by being shamed, so be the change you wish to see in everyone in the family. Third, we focused on each other's strengths and looked for things to like about each other. People are calmed by being appreciated, and we all tend to behave better when we feel liked and accepted. If family cohesion is important to you, you may want to talk with other members of the family who are on board with creating more cohesion. Together, you can brainstorm ways to focus on the strengths of all family members, especially those who've been deemed problematic by the rest of the family. Fourth, whenever possible, we focused our conversations on goals or values that we shared, or the weather. As much as possible, we stuck to subjects that were either neutral or that protected and promoted mutual goodwill. In your family, you may not be the only one choosing conversation topics, but you might be able to take the wheel if a conversation is running off the road. Create a list of topics today that seem reasonably safe for everyone in the family, and be prepared to change the subject as needed. Maybe recruit other family members if you can to help keep conversations on a good trajectory. But again, be careful about shutting down a family member who's already emotional. Sometimes changing the subject will go more smoothly if you offer a word of validation before moving on. For example, "It is very upsetting. Yes, I know. Maybe we can change the subject. I wanted to talk to you about Fido's hip surgery." Now, you might already be using some of those tactics, and if so, keep doing what's working. Of course, you can't force other family members to behave as you do, but you can be a role model and protect your own relationship with every member of your family. Before I offer one more tip that could be a game changer, here are the 4 that I just mentioned. Number 1, don't go looking for a fight. 2, speak respectfully even to those who aren't being respectful. 3, focus on strengths and likability. And 4, stick to shared interests or safe topics whenever possible. And here is a 5th behavior that I believe is as powerful as all of those combined. You can use it even if the other 4 fail, and that is to listen. With different values, there's often an impulse to persuade, to convince, to bring the other person around. But when we really listen to someone and try to understand where they're coming from, they can feel that we're open to them and their values and hopes and fears. Truly listening can de-escalate tension more quickly than just about any words we can say. Listening is the ultimate game changer. You might wish your adult child would listen instead of coming at you with anger or accusations, but your natural desire for them to listen to you underlines an essential truth. Listening is much harder and far less appealing than being listened to. Someone has to go first. Someone has to do the hard thing. And as I mentioned in episode 190, you can do hard things. In the next episode, I'll flip the focus from causes of estrangement, like different values, to causes of connection. I'll talk about forms of social glue that can hold together even people with very different values, by giving them other reasons to stay connected to each other. Until then, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.